All right. So today we are going to proceed from where we left, but I just wanted to mention something important as a point of encouragement, and that will be the story of Noah. I want to mention something about the ark. When we look at Genesis chapter 7, from verse chapter 6 to chapter 7, where Noah is building the ark of the ark, and where they enter the ark, Noah and the family. Then I just wanted to mention something. The ark appeared is quite a structure. It was quite a big structure. Actually, this is verse chapter 6 from verse Genesis chapter 6 from verse 14, where God is telling Noah, make thee an ark of gopher wood, rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. That gives you a rough idea of how large the ark was. And I wanted to mention a point about this ark as a point of encouragement to you. When you look at the structure of the ark, it did not have propellers, so it was a building which was stationary, very heavy, with a lot of families in it, generations of animals, all manner of animals inside. So it was a big structure which was stationary at one point. Then when you go to Genesis chapter 7, through from verse 11 going forward, you see the waters prevailing from verse 18. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both fowl and of cattle and of beast and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. When you look at now the structure of this ark, it was very big. Then at one point the waters became so much enough to lift the whole thing with its weight entirety up. And when you look at chapter 8, God remembers Noah and all their cattle that was with him, the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. Then you go down through chapter 8 to verse 4, and the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. So here is this big structure, lifted up by water in its entirety. It ends up on a mountain, actually on the mountains of Ararat. Lifting such a thing would require a lot of water to rest it on a mountain. This is an encouragement to you. No matter how much load you feel you have, and you feel stagnant or grounded in a foundation of some sort, no matter the situation, no matter how heavy you feel everything is upon your shoulders, no matter how grounded you feel, believe in Jesus Christ, believe in God, and he will lift you up, same way as the ark was lifted up, and He will set you high, and He will look at all the other adversaries around you perish and disappear. And by way of the Holy Spirit, you'll be lifted up high on a mountain, and you will rest on a mountain, and you will have fresh land, not literally, but you will have fresh perspective of things, blessings of all around you as it is. So please believe in God, and He will lift you up, same way He lifted the ark with Noah and all things inside, and to the point of everything resting on a mountain. People around him laughed. There was no rain, but they would not imagine such an amount of water lifting such an amount of, quite a big structure of building. So similarly, believe in God. He will lift you up from ground, take away all your foundations, lift you up from where you are on top of a mountain to better land, to better thing, to prosperity. Then you can start afresh, born again. I just wanted to give you, it came to mind, I just wanted to give you that word of encouragement as we proceed. Anyway, so today we are actually focusing on chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12. Now we are going to look at Abram. I hope the time we have will be able to skim through all the way to Isaac, the Ishmael and all that. So Abraham's call, that is Genesis chapter 12. I will read as you can proceed to with me. Again, I'm doing the KJV, that is what I have. This one is from Holman. Abraham's call. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, and to a land that I will show thee. Very heavy word, verse here. Abram is told by God. Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, Get thee, only him, get thee out of thy country, get out of your country, and from thy kindred. Get out of the country and from your kindred. All your people who are like you, leave them behind. Separate yourself, and from thy father's house and to a land that I will show thee. He was not told to carry anyone else. He was told leave. Okay. And I will show thee, and to a land that I will show thee, not you people, but him alone. Then God continues, verse 2, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Not I will think about making thee a great nation. God says, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. This is God telling Abraham what he will do. Abraham forms a premise to, a lot of New Testament. By way of belief. all his responses give a paradigm of, Christian experiences in books like Romans, Galatians, and James, where Apostle Paul is giving an example of faith and belief, with Abram. And may proceed. Abram enters Canaan, verse 4. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. See, Lot was not called, or God did not talk to Lot, and God did not tell Abram to carry Lot. But we see a character of Abram here who is, is very brotherly. He is caring. No wonder, God looks at the heart, and no wonder he was chosen by God, because he has this welcoming character, brotherliness. Leave no man behind, like, he's not selfish in some sort. Although this will bring him drama at the end, but we'll see. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and their souls, the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. Verse 6. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And remember, there were people, because people had already multiplied all the way from the children of Noah. Verse 7. And the Lord appeared unto Abram again, and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. Receiving a lot of promises from God, as it is. And God will be the one to appear on him physically. Verse 8. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east. Verse 8. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. So he built an altar. All right. Verse 9. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. We have a nice map here indicating how he was moving. We are now on verse 10. And there was a famine in the land. This is Canaan. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there. It's funny. He wasn't told to leave Egypt. To leave Canaan. Or Bethel, as it were. And it came to pass, verse 11, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife. And they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. It's a funny character of Abraham here, willing to give out his wife for his life. Then a stranger. But when you look at technically, Sarah was a half sister of Abram, so he wasn't lying as such. And it came to pass, verse 14, when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. The princess also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. Gave him, he had sheep and oxen, and he asses and men servants and maid servants, and she asses and camels. Abram is doing business here. Verse 17. Now, you see something interesting again. God sends plagues to the Egyptians. Verse 17. And the Lord plagued the Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? It's an interesting verse here. How would Pharaoh know that Abram, Sarah was Abram's wife? Characteristics of a Pharaoh, at that time, they would have various ways of knowing, the weather. My assumption again is true, before Abraham came, the weather was okay, or if not say the weather, but there were no plagues. But when Abraham came, and he got this woman, then the plagues came. So, of course, he had advisors, and we will see this play out in times of Moses when you go down the line. So that's how he knew. So why saidst, verse 19, why saidst thou, she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me to wife? Now, therefore, behold thy wife, take her, and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Didn't even take all the things he had given Abram. So, it's like Abraham might have known when he was giving out the wife, or it didn't. Very interesting again. But we see another character of Pharaoh here. It means he did not believe in God, because he didn't have Spirit of God with him. Then he would have known not to take, or God would have spoken to him would have known not to take someone's wife, or he would have inquired if he had prophets or even priests, but he didn't know. So it's got a lesson there to learn. Always walk with God and have these decisions when you do. Of course, taking someone's wife is something that is not allowed in the commandments. As we go down the line, we'll see about that. So that's that. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Everything that is mentioned in verse 16 was given to Abram. So Abram now takes back the wife, and is extremely rich as well. Then he turns to Bethel, chapter 13. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. See, Lot still follows Abram, even up to Egypt. They chased away together. Quite a character here. Verse 2, and Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver and in gold. Again, very blessed man. Verse 3, and he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel, and to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai. Remember, he had placed an altar there. Verse 4, and to the place of the altar which he had made there at the first, and there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Beautiful. So here he is the first time now he's calling on, he's remembered, look, the land, this famine and all that. Let me talk to God, the one that gave me all these promises. And that becomes a very wise decision of Abram. Now we see this character of Lot. Verse 5. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together in one place. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. They were just witnessing and looking. Verse 8, and Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? You see what this guy was clinging. I think Lot saw something change. When you have a countenance of God, when you have an encounter with God, you change. You get brightness. Things start becoming available to you. You become wealthy and all that kind of thing. You become successful. That kind of scenario. So this Lot knew something is different about this man. Let me cling unto him. And he ended up being blessed by just being around Abram. I think that's why he was so hesitant of, he's not the one who was quarreling with Abraham, but the people down, cascading downwards, Lot. These are the people who are quarreling. But Lot kept quiet, and he knew this man is blessed. Let me just hang around, and the blessing overflowed to him. Very wise guy. I think. So, verse 9, is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself. So he had to be told to leave. I pray thee from me. Even Abraham is praying. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. Verse 10. And Lot lifted up his eyes. Again, very funny character here. And beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comes unto Zoar. He saw the land was very beautiful for his own cattle. The guy was selfish. The Lord chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. It's either Lot was selfish or he knew if you took the land that was not green, let me just say use green, or as beautiful as the Garden of Eden, he would not have the capacity to make it as beautiful as it should be, or as a greener pasture that it should be. But he knew if Abram, he knew the countenance or the spirit of God was with Abram. He knew, look, if I leave Abram with a dry, not plenty fresh land and all that, when Abram would move to that side, it will suddenly be fruitful. He knew. So on one side, it looks selfish, but on the other hand, it looks like this man will still succeed. Let me choose the better part, because when Abraham goes to the other side, he will still make it better. So it shows two sides of Lot. Then Lot chose him all the plains of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. Finally, then verse 12, Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan. Lot did not like this land thing because it was hard for men. And Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. I'm looking at the map that I'm given here. Sodom, but the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. When you get a verse 13, criticize or give you a character of these people, then a whole verse says the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord, and still add exceedingly. Must have been quite a story here. God renews his covenant now with Abram. Verse 14. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him. Finally, now Abram can now talk well with God, but Lot is not there. Lift up now thine eyes. And you see here, Abraham had to be separated a lot. There are these people you just have to leave behind or separate for you to have a good conversation with God and God to draw closer to you. And by the story of Abraham, you will see the characters of Lot. Is benefiting from you, but still drawing you backwards. All right? No matter how brotherly you are, but still drawing you backwards. So we get a lesson here of how to separate yourself from a Lot or someone with the character of Lot in your lives, so you can draw closer to God. That kind of scenario. All right? And this is very, very interesting, because now you will see why when you go down now from verse 14 to chapter 14 of Genesis. Okay, like Genesis chapter 13 verse 14 as I go down. So chapter 13 verse 14 Genesis. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes and look from the place where thou art northward and southward and eastward and westward. For the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. It's another promise. So soon as Lot leaves, now is given land forever. Before with Lot, he was going to just go, because God knew this man would take Lot and would take souls. You understand? Verse 14, for the land which thou seest, will I give it unto thy seed forever. And this is not like 1,000, forever. So this land, let me just speak now, as at 2024, the year that we know it, AD, as it is. The map I see here is Canaan. All right, and you all know the land as it is now, who is there. All right, this land as it is, when you look at Genesis chapter 13, verse 15 or verse 14, where God is telling Abram to look from the place where thou art northward, southward, eastward, and westward. Then verse 15, for all the land which thou seest, okay, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. So this land belongs to Abram or Abraham. That land belongs to Abram. And it belongs to the seed of Abraham forever. So the question you should all ask yourselves is, are you the seed of Abram? If so, the land belongs to you forever. That gives premise to peace in this land. And I say again, remember at this point, religion or at this point, apart from the people worshipping, gods, doing witchcraft and all that, main religions were not there. Because again, we are tied with Noah. Then the line goes to Shem. Then we see Faxad and Abram. But this gives premise of peace to this land as well. And if all people would understand this part, then we'd have somewhere to start, in pursuit of peace. Verse 16, and I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. That's a lot of people. So he is a promise and a covenant. Verse 17, arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it to thee and to thee. So God here commands Abram to do something very interesting, to walk, to wake up and walk. Where is he telling Abram to walk? Walk through the land, in the length and in the breadth. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord, another altar. Hebron, Mamre, near the Dead Sea. So now these are altars built by a patriarch. Altars built by a patriarch. Altars built by Abram or Abraham, as he will later be known. And he's walked there and he has claimed all that land. And all this land belongs to Abram and the seed of Abram. So far you are the seed of Abram. You can only share it peacefully, because God commanded it as such. Okay. When you go down to the commandments as given by the law as it is to Moses and all, then you will see how land was divided and how it passed on from one generation to another, and which clans and which tribes were given land, that kind of scenario, and who will be benefactors, as you see that, especially when you see the book of Ruth. Is it Ruth, Yeah, when you see the book of Ruth, the Naomi, the scenario there, you'll see how land is played about as per the law. So just see now, this is Abram. He has walked with God and he has a deal with God in form of a covenant. So he has a winning card. for a winning sword. We enter chapter 14 with the Battle of the Kings. This is a war. It's the first war that I have seen in this land. I don't think I've seen another war here since Noah. It's the first war since Noah. Now I want you to see, after the great flood, how the first war was won. And who won it? And what happened? Because when you go back in time, you'll find the secrets to that kind of peace in this region. Chapter 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations. Tidal, king of nations. Tidal, king of nations. Verse 2. That this made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Adma, and Shemeba, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. Verse 3. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. Verse 4. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaven Kiriathaim. And verse 6. And the Horites in the Mount Seir, into El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Verse 7. And they returned and came to En-Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazezon Tamar. Verse 8. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adama, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim. Verse 9. With Chedorlaomer the king of Elam, and with Tidal king of nations, and Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. Verse 10. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. We get to see Lot again. Lot's capture and rescue. Verse 12. And they took Lot. Who is Lot? Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped. There's always one escapee. And told Abram. I've seen many movies where after a war they leave just one person to go and tell a story. There came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. Verse 14. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan, and divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. It's like Lot knew that he would be rescued. That dude knew. Verse 16. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Lot, man, Lot. Verse 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. Now, we see someone called Melchizedek. Melchizedek blesses Abram, see Abram just won and like go and take. Lord is all is good now. God is with him, Melchizedek blesses Abram, verse 18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, 41 minutes. Melchizedek blesses Abram, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. Salem, Jerusalem, king of righteousness, king of peace, priest of the Most High God. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. He brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. What an honorable gesture here for Abram. On top of that, he has bread and wine. Verse 19, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. This is a tricky verse here because some people tend to interpret this verse as, God has given Abram authority or possessor of heaven and earth. No. And that's why we have to go back to these old texts. And if this KJV can still go back to the other one, in Geneva something, but look at the verse 19. And he blessed him. Melchizedek blessed Abram. And Melchizedek said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God. There's a comma there. Possessor of heaven and earth. Most High God is the possessor of heaven and earth. It cannot be Abram. Most High God created Abram. Understand what I'm saying? From Genesis chapter 1. Verse 20. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. So after the blessing, then Abraham gives tithes of all. It's the first tithe here. And this is the tithe where we see, mentioned by Paul down the line. We will get back the verses so that I can get it. Verse 20. But anyway, there's a reference to this, and I mentioned it in one of those videos prior. But he gives his tithe on behalf of all descendants of Abraham. Verse 21. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth. Again, verse 22 clarifies verse 19. So you cannot say that Abram was given possession of heaven and earth. No. Verse 22 clears that. So verse 23. That I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou should say, I have made Abram rich. Save only that which the young men have eaten, because understand what is eaten. The portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, Mamre, let them take their portion. No. It is good so we take a very important lesson here. When you're in the journey with God, sometimes it is good to be patient for God to bless you. And when you push or you be greedy to a point where you're getting a lot of help from unnecessary people, then on your day of success, these people will line up and say that because of them, you are successful. And the glory does not belong to them. The glory is supposed to go back to God. So it should be, God helped me and I became successful. as it is for those who are in pursuit of success, for those who are in pursuit of health or things, material things and all that. So it is important for you to let God to help you. Why? So that the glory of God can go back to Him. Okay? It's very important. God likes the glory to go back to Him so that the other people can know that this is God who did it. Don't be corrupt. Chapter 17, I think about 15 minutes left. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision. Now God appears, is the word in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and the exceeding great reward. Beautiful. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. Abram promised an heir. Very smart man, this one. Very smart man. He knew he was getting old, and he had a lot of things. And all of these things will go to someone who's not of his lineage. And I think Abram now knew God would go line by line, and he had to give back. So he had to ask for it. Time was running out. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he encountered it to him for righteousness. And he counted it to him for righteousness. Now, this is very important. Please, please, please. Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. Just believe. Believe in the word of God. Just believe. Because this is what Abram did. And this is what has made us to be here. The lesson of believing in God. The lesson of faith. And look at Romans 4:3, Galatians 3:6, James 2:23. We'll get to there. And some of these places I mentioned. Just to lay ground on how the whole thing is flowing. But verse 6 is very important of Genesis chapter 15. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Finding people who believe is difficult with a few, but it's possible. Just believe. It's a difficult thing, At that age, just believing is difficult, no lie. But when you read, then when you see the case of scenario of Abraham, and it becomes light, then you're able to start believing. Then you're able to start having faith as such. Now we go to verse 7, and he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. Reminding him. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. I like the commentary here of that verse 8. And they say, Abram, the shrewd businessman who had once dealt with earth's mightiest human, the Pharaoh of Egypt, now negotiated with the Lord God. How can he be assured of God's promise? Abram. And he took unto him all this, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. Abram's deep sleep and vision. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. Here we are shown various ways of how God talks to people. This is another way, when you get a deep sleep. Okay, then the vision. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. This is a prophecy. God is talking now to Abram, telling him now the whole story of Egypt and all that. No, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Okay. Pay back to the Amorites. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Kadmonites, and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims, and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So all this land now was taken away from these people who did not believe in God. It was given to Abraham. Okay. So I will not enter verse 16 today. We'll do it in the next video, because now here interesting characters come up, Hagar and Ishmael and all that. But it's a very heavy of chapter 15 verse 12 to verse 21. It just clearly tells us all the drama with Moses, all the drama with Joshua, up to Joshua. All of it. So if Moses had this text, he would have believed that in the end of the day they would conquer all those places. If all the Israelites had this text and read it, they would have known that it was written, it was prophesied to Abram that they would end up conquering all these other places back to Canaan. And this would give, and this is actually why, when you see Joshua, this is why when you see Joshua, something here God tells Joshua. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 2, Moses, this Joshua chapter 1, through verse 1, 2, 3, like that. Let me mention just verse 7. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Okay. Verse 7 actually is what I'm looking for. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. All of this, the premise is given on this vision of Genesis chapter 15 from verse 12 to verse 21. All of it. And Abram was very wise. He just wanted to know the beginning, or rather the end of this wealth. He didn't want it to go to waste. He wanted to know, and by this lip slip, by this sacrifice, by this altar, then he was given a prophecy from God, by God himself, directly. That's all for today. 57 minutes is good. We'll end there, then we'll begin from Genesis chapter 16.